What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 4 of the Stokesy and Stoner Show. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about everything crypto related. We've got some really hot topics coming straight off the press over the past couple of weeks. We're going to talk about the Belarusian president who's talking about building a nuclear power plant to mine Bitcoin, followed by Facebook and Facebook Coin and that ongoing saga with Facebook now registering a company called Libra in Switzerland. So we're going to be digging into that. And what else are we digging into?
G'day, Bo and crypto goers. Also looking at BitConnect 2.0 scams that are starting to bubble to the surface, paper wallets, and of course our coin picks for the week.
So stick around, guys, and let's get into the show. Now, guys, first off, taking a look at the market over the past week since last episode. So, Stokesy, we've had the market go up, it's pulled back, it's gone up, it's pulled back. We've had this quite volatile behavior, but the amazing thing is the market has stayed high. Bitcoin has stayed hovering around the 8,000 mark, retaining just about all the gains that we saw over the past few weeks, which is amazing. We've seen other big pumps from other coins. I'll hand it over to you to give us more of a detailed breakdown on what's been happening during the past week in the crypto markets.
Yeah, Bo, it's been quite a wild ride. We see a nice little skateboard ramp or a half pipe on the Bitcoin charts, and as expected, all the other coins sort of followed suit. We see Bitcoin taking the lead, but what was really exciting about that drop is that it recovered. As you said, it came back, and it was quite reassuring to see that even with this huge, I think it was about 20% in the middle where it took a real kick in the guts. Now, the talk on the street with that is there's been a few theories out there of, was it a market manipulation situation where someone actually manipulated the market on purpose? Or the other talk was, did someone try to sell a coin, a lot of coins, millions of dollars worth of coins at a certain amount, and when they put in the market sell price, there's a claim, a belief, an argument, whatever you want to call it, that perhaps they pressed 6 instead of 8. That is, they put a sell price for 6,000 instead of 8,000, and that could have been an accident. I don't know if that's true, and no one really knows except for the person. And I was thinking about this. Let's say I was selling millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and I did accidentally press 6 instead of 8. I don't think I'd have the courage to come forward and say, "G'day, everyone. I just want you to know that I'm a complete idiot. I have made a big mistake and sold millions and millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin at the wrong price." So if it did happen, I don't think we'd ever hear from it. And on the other hand, if it was market manipulation, this is the other end of the spectrum. The other argument was that they purposely put in this low sell price to drop the market, and immediately on another site, they had a buy price where they could essentially dump these coins, buy a whole lot at a new price. But no one really knows except for the person that did it. But moving over to the charts, let's check out the last 7 days. The last 7 days, currently Bitcoin's sitting at 1.56% down. So it's pretty much stable. After everything that's happened, it's sitting there stable. Ethereum, look at this thing go, 21.21%. XRP, 3%, also pretty stable. Moving down further to Litecoin, almost flat at 0.06%. Further down, Binance Coin coming up at 20%. But Binance took that big hit after the scam, and we'll be talking more about scams later. But check out Stellar, that was at 21%, and Tron, also a lot of word on that, at 14%. Further down, great news with Dash, and this will be wonderful for the good people in Venezuela, coming up at 18% over the last 7 days. The last 24 hours is pretty stable. I wanted to learn more about what was happening in Belarus, Bo.
Yeah, look, so we've got some really interesting news coming out from the Belarusian president, which is Alexander Lukashenko, and this is really playing into the long-term scenario where what we're going to find is that governments, is that states will begin contributing hash power to start mining Bitcoin. This makes so much sense. As we've seen the hash rate of Bitcoin go up, the competition, the upfront capital, the need for cheap energy, the need for technical expertise, for land, for space, for internet speeds, all those requirements have grown. I mean, back in the early days of Bitcoin, you could mine Bitcoin from a laptop. Those days are well gone. So it's a natural evolution in the competitive nature of mining Bitcoin and the subsequent enforcement of the network as a result of the hash power. It's a natural evolution that states are going to start mining Bitcoin, especially as the price goes up. Only yesterday I did a video where I showed that three governments, Israel, the United States, and Bulgaria, own huge amounts of Bitcoin. Now they got that through seizures of from criminal activities. These were asset seizures. And what we're going to find is as the price of Bitcoin goes up and governments start to realize the potential for holding onto this asset to contribute to their own treasuries, to their own funds, we're going to see more and more activity in the mining sector. Now, what we've had here is we've had the president in a meeting. So I'm going to go through the article here. So while in a general meeting with senior representatives of the information technology sector in the high-tech park, the president showed optimism and wanted to encourage the country's leaders to put more emphasis and focus attention on the availability of suitable resources as well organized for the cryptocurrency mining in the country. And this is what he said. Well, you want crypto bierge, I don't know what that means by the way, mining, etc. A farm there. Wait, we'll introduce a nuclear power plant and excess of electricity. I've left a place there. We'll build farms and we mine these Bitcoins and we'll sell them. Maybe we'll create an IT country, President Alexander said. And now how powerful is a statement like that when you've got developing countries that are looking for economic opportunities to create opportunities in IT? Even going so far as mentioning nuclear power. Nuclear power is extremely efficient source of energy. To set up a Bitcoin mining farm and then to use that Bitcoin to hold it to contribute to the treasuries or to sell it to start building up their economy, their reserve assets to move away from. And I don't know how much US dollars Belarus has, but a lot of these countries are going to be looking for alternatives to start offloading the amount of foreign currencies they have as the risk of a global recession becomes greater and greater. So very, very interesting stuff here from Belarus. And I think many, many more countries will follow Belarus in the years to come.
It's a fascinating article, and I'm glad you brought it up. And on your video, link below to that Bo's video recently released on those three holders, the biggest country holders of Bitcoin. I was actually surprised not to see China or Russia on. I'm wondering if China and Russia wasn't on that list. Is that because they're not the biggest holders or because perhaps we don't know how much they're holding?
That's a good question. And I would say it's because we don't know.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think we actually know how much these other countries are holding, but it was funny to see, I guess, the way America got it was through seizing those coins after the closure of Silk Road. They probably didn't even know what they were doing. They basically had this toy and just sort of some type of asset, and it's like, oh, well, we'll just hock it off and see what happens. But of course, they're holding this powerful digital gold, and Belarus is free from these financial markets, not tied by the constraints of what the frontline first world players are doing in the financial markets. And they're sort of going it alone. They're like, hey, well, it's my country. I can build a power plant. I'm going to do it. Everyone else is mining in inefficient ways. Although I did see in one of the mining farms, I think it was in Genesis Mining, they set up a mining farm by going to hydrothermo power, that is steam coming out of the ground. They set it up next to where steam comes out of the ground. It drives turbines, which drives generators, which generates power. But let's face it, compared to nuclear, that's child's play.
Well, you actually raised an interesting point, Adam, and it frustrates me being an engineer every time I see propaganda, and I'll call it propaganda, in the media about them carrying on about the energy consumption that Bitcoin uses, having really no understanding of how energy works, and not taking into any consideration of the networks and systems that legacy systems and architectures would be using the energy. I mean, do traditional computers not run the current banking system? I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. And recent studies have shown, and this is due to Bitcoin's competitive nature, and it's the democratic way that anyone can tap into, provided they have the resources to contribute to hash power. It's driving competitiveness for people to find cheaper forms of electricity. Where do you get cheaper forms of electricity? Generally, you get cheaper forms of electricity at renewable power generation locations that have excess. So many mining farms have been set up close to hydro power plants. So the power is cheap because they're so close to the power plant. The power company isn't paying the overheads for the power to be transmitted over 50 kilometers of distribution line. So it's a very close location. You're also going to have less current drop because there's less of resistance in the line, right? Over because it's a much shorter line than going 50 k's or 100 k's or whatever it is. So the amount of renewable energy they are now estimating in Bitcoin is now up to 70%. 70% of Bitcoin's energy consumption is now renewable. And isn't that incredible?
Mate, it's true. It drives an arms race. It drives an arms race of power, of how can I get the most efficient power. And of course, there's going to be flow-on effects from this. If we can generate power more efficiently to make money as capitalists or people trying to break away from the banks. And remember, capitalism isn't a dirty word. Capitalism is truly a word of, not to get too political, but the reality is that money is political. You can't kind of deny it. It's interwoven. Economic systems are intertwined with money, and money is intertwined with politics, and all of this can flow over to the environment. Now, wherever that happens in that cycle, if someone is driving innovation for improved power generation, usage, and storage, that's the other thing. So for me, storage is the big one. So my mining farm out in the backyard, my power system, I turn it on during the day and I turn it off during the night. And I've looked into batteries, and I would buy batteries if they were more efficient. But because they're not that efficient, I won't do it yet. And of course, we've got cars driving innovation with their power storage, with electric cars. We now have mining driving innovation for power generation. And on your point earlier about how much some people believe that mining is very inefficient because of the amount of power it uses. We spoke about this before. How much power do you think is involved in air conditioning a bank? And when I say a bank, I don't mean your little local bank down at the shopping centre. I'm talking about the ones that are in the middle of Sydney, 30 stories tall, all the energy that was required to make that, to air condition it, to run the servers. Then you have the humans driving to and from the banks every morning and night. Then you have dead space where the banks are closed at night. You're not getting any return on that building at that time. It's just sitting empty. And that in itself is a loss of energy and space and so on. So good on you, crypto, for pushing this space forward. And good on you, Belarus, for just, taking the lead and going forward. Bo, have you heard about the scams out there with BitConnect 2.0?
Well, look, Adam, I've obviously heard of BitConnect. I did a video on a similar project many moons ago, probably nearly 18 months ago, and it was called, what was it called? I can't even remember. There was BitConnect, and there was another one. It was like a rebranded BitConnect. Anyway, I did a video around the time. It was the same kind of thing. You pump money in, you get a small amount of returns, basically.
Was it OneCoins or USI Tech?
USI Tech, that's it. Yeah.
USI Tech, yeah.
So we've seen most of these disappear off the radar. We've seen BitConnect, obviously, was in a lot of legal troubles. Back last year, we had, I believe from Texas, we had subpoenas. We had subpoenas going to the UK as well. Adam, tell me what's going on with BitConnect 2.0. Why is this beast rearing its ugly head once again?
Mate, it's round two. It's coming up again, essentially because it can, and because of ignorance in the markets. And I don't mean that as an offence to anyone who's getting new into the markets. We were all ignorant at one stage. And when I first saw BitConnect, I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, wow, you can make 1%. But looking at the article, it basically says by CCN, in 2016, a cryptocurrency project named BitConnect came along offering 1% daily compounded interest for those who purchased and staked its token. When the BitConnect bubble inevitably burst, the owners, as expected, made off with everyone's money. The BCC token price sunk by 99.9%, and it's terrible. And a previously $2.5 billion value project became absolutely worthless. Now, this article shows us the BitConnect saga is actually rearing its ugly head again, because 2.0 has arrived for a second bite. That is, it appears that it got a lot of people in the first round, and it's trying to do the same thing in the second round. And that is why the crypto community is so important. It's important that we all talk and we spread the news out there. Now, the infamous guy who was promoting BitConnect, so many people promoted BitConnect, and you might have heard of Crypto Nick, Ryan Hildreth. and there was another guy who was an infamous YouTuber, and these guys got really burnt. I think, especially with Crypto Nick, he was an 18-year-old boy, and he didn't actually know what he was promoting, and he's basically being, it appears, taken to court for promoting a Ponzi scheme. But the infamous Carlos Matos, so he was the guy who got up on stage, and some people say he was on coke or something because it was so wide on this BitConnect launch, and the video was shown on the BitConnect homepage where he's screaming, I won't do it because I don't want to make an ass of myself, but he's the guy who screamed BitConnect. And there's recently a video come out by Carlos himself, and many thought this guy was dead or murdered or just taken off. And I was actually really amazed to see this video of where he's got up there and he's basically stood in front of the camera and told the truth about BitConnect. Bo, did you hear about this scam? Of course you did, but do you know many people that got burnt by it?
You know what is amazing, Adam? I don't. And this is a crazy thing. The one main exposure I had to BitConnect and the some of the havoc that it wreaked was when I was asked to speak at the Gold Coast at an event called the Smart Up. I had some guys at the end of the event come to me and tell me that they got into BitConnect because BitConnect had sponsored a full drive event on the Gold Coast, and they had a stall there. And these guys were walking around, and I think they might have been getting into crypto at the time. This was probably late 2017. Late 2017. And BitConnect had sponsored the event and were there. And so these guys were approached by the salesman or whoever was working for BitConnect at the time, and that's how they got into it. Other than that, I don't know anyone directly, certainly not in my close personal circle of friends, that was burned for it, other than the obvious cases that you see on YouTube and you hear about in the media.
Yeah, they virtually had unlimited money, and USI Tech was another one. I'm going to squeeze in some sauna talk here. So I remember when USI Tech was at its peak, they were promising, I think, 40% per annum. So it wasn't so extreme, but comparative to everything else that was out there, 40% per annum is nothing to sneeze at. And I actually recall speaking to some, she was quite an arrogant woman, and all she knew was USI Tech was going to be what she could retire on. And from what she had told me, her husband and her had basically taken all of their money, all of it, all the super they had. They tried to push it through a self-managed super fund, and I think they actually managed to do that. And of course, it's all gone. They lost all of it. And I just wanted to bring it up because what I've noticed now is, and we'll talk about Facebook in a second, but what's happening on Facebook is now that the ICO ban has been lifted. Now, ICOs are now IEOs, but essentially during the bull run, all the scammers were advertising like crazy on every single platform, including Facebook. And Facebook was immensely successful for them. Facebook was so successful because it had such a big reach into everyone in the world. And they put these ads out there, and of course, many people got burnt. Now, Facebook reacted to this, I think quite responsibly, but maybe a bit too far. And they said, no crypto advertising at all. So they went from one extreme to the other. They went from just allowing a free-for-all where scams were going crazy on a reputable platform. And then they went to the other extreme where they said no one is going to advertise any type of crypto whatsoever on the Facebook platform. Now we're coming around, all things are coming around in circles. Now the market is picking up. Facebook's getting into the crypto space, and Facebook has opened up advertising again for crypto. And I have seen with my own eyes very quickly the same scammers coming through with a different brand. It's the same type of writing, it's the same type of promises, it's the same type of visuals, and people are going to get burnt again. And in one of my videos, the top 3 crypto investments to avoid, link below. In that video, I talk about one thing to avoid in the crypto space, if you can, is centralized bodies. That is, if it's not your keys, it's not your coins. So if you go to a third party where and I'm not talking about just going to an exchange, I'm talking about going to a so-called investment fund where you give them your money, they say that they're investing in Bitcoin, and they're not investing in Bitcoin, they're just taking your money. And people who are coming into the space just hear Bitcoin, they find a third party, They give them their money. The third party never, in fact, puts their money into anything. They just put it in their pocket, and they keep taking more and more and more. And it looks like that the customer is making a return because they see this imaginary number just go up on a digital screen, and then bang, it all disappears, which pushes us onto our wallets. A while ago, Bo, you made a video about the Trezor and Nano wallets. This is really important for everyone to understand about hot versus cold storage. Check out the link below, guys, for Bo's great work on those videos. I've also made a detailed video on using a paper wallet. Both are a form of cold storage. Bo, can you help us understand the difference between hot and cold storage?
Yeah, sure. So cold storage is essentially just a word associated with sending crypto to a device that's offline. So cold being it's not connected to the internet. Now, without getting too technical and confusing people, you're not actually sending coins to the device. The device holds the private key, which gets access to your wallet. But the private key is the most important thing. You can send Bitcoin to any address, but if you or that person doesn't hold the private key, you can see what's in the address, but you just can't spend it. So hardware wallets, they keep the access to the private key, excuse me, within the device itself, and it only can unlock or open the wallet when it's connected to the computer and thus to the internet to actually process a transaction. So that's cold storage, and this is really good for when you're buying crypto that you don't want to spend, you don't want to use, you just want to hold for the long term. You send it to a hardware wallet, which is cold storage, and then you go and put it somewhere really, really safe. So this is an ideal solution for very high levels of security. Now, a hot wallet is generally a wallet connected to the internet and could be a wallet on your mobile phone. It could be a wallet on your computer. It's a wallet that you're using. A hot wallet is a wallet that you're using, you want to spend. So an example is I have a 10x application on my phone that has some Bitcoin that I use to spend with my 10x debit card. Now, that 10x wallet is analogous to being a hot wallet because I'm using Bitcoin in that wallet. Even if I was spending that Bitcoin from the wallet, it's being used, right? It's hot. It's being used. So that's probably, I guess, the best two examples I could give you, Adam, between the difference of cold storage and hot storage.
I've been thinking about paper wallets. So, of course, if I print a paper wallet, I can make 10 copies of the one wallet. And if you're not familiar with paper wallets, subscribers and viewers, the best way I see it is people say, well, if I print a paper wallet 10 times, does that mean I've got 10 Bitcoins? And of course, no, that's one of the keys to Bitcoin, is that to avoid that double spend. That's the truth. If people ask what's so magical about crypto and they don't really understand it, one of the fundamentals, of course, is, decentralized, immutable, and all the things that Andreas talks about. But the real magic is the no double spend. That is, if I send you a photo online and I go copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, I've got 1,000 copies of that photo. And Bitcoin, through its decentralized and immutable ledger, prevents people from doing that double spend. Now, of course, when I print the private key 10 or 20 times on a paper wallet, and this is in my video, the advantage is that I can store that one wallet in 10 different places. So if I've got one paper wallet with the same key in my house and the house burns down, but I've sent one to Bo and I trust Bo, that I've still got access to that same key. And that's the same as if I go to a hotel. If I print a key, a digital key, they code a key. Just because they've given me 10 keys to the one room doesn't mean I can access 10 rooms. I've still got the one key to access. But my question to you, Bo, is I'm wondering if I've got which I do, a Trezor or a Nano, and let's say that falls in water. And so now all the keys on that electronic device, which is like a thumb drive, is in water, I've lost that key forever. Whereas if I printed it and I had 3 copies of the one key, I put one here, one there, and one somewhere else, yes, I've become more vulnerable because I've now got to secure 3 more places, but I've got redundancy because if any one of those keys is lost, I can access another one. What happens if my Trezor gets wet or burnt or stolen?
Really good few points you raised there, and some good questions. And one, I think this is going to be probably interesting for yourself and potentially the audience to hear what my response is going to be. So first of all, if your device gets wet, you're fine, because when you set up the device, you should have written down 12 to 24 word mnemonic seed phrase.
Yep.
that will restore essentially the master private key for all the private keys generated on the device. So let's say you had a Bitcoin wallet, an Ethereum wallet, and a Neo wallet. That one mnemonic will restore the private keys for all those devices. There are user guides and manuals on how to do this with a replacement Trezor. That's the benefit of having one of these hardware wallets. Is the device itself is not only is it pin code accessed, the private key will not communicate to the wallet until the device is unlocked with the pin code. And if you lose the device, you have redundancy through the backup phrase that you saved and should be keeping somewhere safe. Now, moving on to paper wallets. This is interesting. So as you mentioned, if you printed out 3 paper wallets that all contain the same private key, you would have essentially 3 copies of a key. So analogous to if you wanted a key for your house, you printed off 3 copies, you could give them to people. Now, unfortunately, what this does is this exposes you to 3 layers of risk. If one of those wallets gets taken, they have access. So the more you print, the higher risk actually goes.
Yep.
What you should be doing in that situation is using something called a multi-signature. So what you should have is one hardware wallet that you can then generate a 3 of 2 or a 5 of 3 multi-sig. Now, a 2 of 3 multi-sig means you need 2 parts of the 3-part key to access the wallet. 3 private keys are generated, and you only need 2 of that 3 to access the wallet. You can then store these keys with either trusted family members or somewhere safe that you know where all these are. That reduces your risk because 2 of these are needed at the same time. And you can actually, this is quite advanced and technical. You can do this with Trezors. You could buy 3 Trezors. You can set up a 2 of 3 multisig where you need 2 of those hardware devices to access that wallet. So you can then store these hardware devices with people and then store the backup for those hardware devices with people as well. Now, moving on to paper wallets themselves, this is starting into really advanced operational security stuff. But what can happen and what is going to be a risk in the future is when people print stuff on a printer.
Yeah.
There actually may be a copy of that file, not only stored on the computer that you printed it from, but some printers locally store the images of what they print. So a hacker with the technical know-how could potentially one day, now I'm not saying this is going to happen, this is so advanced, so people out there watching this, if you printed off a private key on a printer, all of us have, don't fret, I'm not worried. But there are certain printers that may store this information that should Bitcoin reach levels in the future, some people may be incentivized enough to try and access local data. This is why when you get a new hardware device, you're always asked to write it down. This is why, because the developers don't want you putting that data through a printer. They want you to write it down by hand, the backup phrases. So
yeah,
when it comes to personal security with devices, it's all down to the individual. It's all down to your risk tolerance, but it's also down to your technical ability.
That's a really good synopsis, and I'm glad you explained it, because I do actually remember when I first printed a fair bit of Bitcoin on it, I was quite paranoid about people getting into the network, so I printed it completely off the network, and I actually printed it on an old printer, and because it was a fair bit of Bitcoin, I then took that printer outside and smashed it to pieces with a sledgehammer. So it was never transmitted through the network. It was all done offline. It was printed from taking basically a thumb drive to the machine itself, and because the machine was old and I was paranoid, I then smashed that thing to 1,000 pieces. But of course, that's an expensive way to print Bitcoin. If you want to print Bitcoin every time you've got to destroy a printer, you're up for a fair few printers, which is no good for the environment as well. But what I also got out of that is with the Trezors and Nanos, I remember now you write down those words, the passphrase. If I have to flee the country, flee the state, or go somewhere, because I chose those words, can I choose those words on those Nanos, or do they automatically give them to me?
That's another good question. So in many cases, these devices will automatically generate them from you for you. Now, there's a reason for this. This is starting to get into really technical stuff too around entropy. the measure of randomness. So these devices use extreme high levels of entropy, so those words are generated in the most random way possible. So it is virtually infeasible for any computer system now and many decades into the future to run combinations of those words to try and back restore private keys. So to answer the second part of your question, yes, some devices do allow you to choose your own words. The issue with that is human beings aren't as random as an advanced formula, and they never will be. So it's actually safer to have random words in some cases, and then if you want to go that really high level, like you said, potentially fleeing the country, if you're in a risky country, you memorize them. You keep them in your head and just make sure that no one learns that you got them in your head if you're in a dangerous situation and they don't nab you and throw you in the back of the van and hold a gun to your head and ask you to recite them.
Start chopping off your toes for each word. It's getting a bit dark. Great information there, Bo. And remember, everyone, if it's not your keys, it's not your coins. Don't leave your coins on exchanges. At any time, an exchange can go down. And even if exchange is dodgy, if you get in there like a public bathroom, that's probably the best analogy. You get in there, you do your business, and you get out. Take your coins out of those exchanges and put them into some type of cold storage, and it should be pretty secure. Bo, talk to me about Facebook. What's happening over there? It looks like big things.
Yeah, look, I just want to mention this and kind of give my take and opinion on it. So we've got just an article here from CoinDesk. Just came out. Facebook registers secretive Libra cryptocurrency firm in Switzerland. Weird name too, by the way. Why call it Libra? I'm interested in knowing the rationale behind that. But it says here, according to a Reuters report, Facebook registered a new company, Libra Networks, in Geneva on May the 2nd. This coincides with the slow rollout of their internal cryptocurrency that will define the company's first foray into blockchain technology. Facebook Global Holdings is a stockholder in the new company, and it will, according to Reuters, provide financial and technology services and develop related hardware and software. Plans submitted on the Swiss register reveal. Facebook's march towards crypto has been slow and steady. The company's latest move, the hiring of 2 Coinbase compliance managers, happened on May the 14th, so just a little while ago. The Libra project has ruffled some feathers in Congress as well. US lawmakers sent an open letter to the company seeking clarification on the currency's purpose and implications. Now, I came at this from 2 points. One being, what value is there for Facebook to have an internal currency? WeChat has had an internal currency for a long time that, from what I've heard from people I know that have some exposure in China, is extremely popular. Internal currencies within apps exist. This is nothing new. Should they decide to use a cryptocurrency, cool. I mean, it means you might be able to send it to an exchange and sell it. I imagine Facebook, given the weight it has, will get listed on 1 billion exchanges upon day one of its launch. As an investment product, I wouldn't touch it with a 100-foot pole. Personally, it's going to be an internal currency. Cool. I really see this as Facebook just riding the wave of blockchain. It's almost a gimmick to me. But one interesting stat that I did find that surprised me is I anecdotally thought that people were using Facebook less and less, and so it even made more sense to me why Facebook would try and ride the new tech wave to get some new users. But apparently, according to some statistics here by Zephoria Digital Marketing, it is still growing. Its daily active users is still growing by 8 or 9% a year, as are its new signups. So people are still using Facebook, I guess, and new people are still signing up. And so, maybe to Facebook using an internal currency makes sense.
Yeah, I just actually listened to Nuggets News today, and Alex was interviewing someone about loyalty programs. It's a perfect relationship between loyalty programs like frequent flyer miles and putting that on the blockchain. Now, he spoke about Facebook as well, and of course, I agree with you. You start creating more and more tokens, more and more store of value coins. And if everyone's got a coin, and this is the thing with altcoins. With altcoins, there's going to be so many altcoins that, well, which one do you hold the value in? And I don't want to have a coin to buy coffee and a different coin to buy shoes and a different coin to buy a car and a different coin to go on Facebook. So this oversupply of all these different coins is getting a bit crazy. But I wonder if this will work, because Link, I don't know if you've heard of, is it Link? No, Line. I've got it on my phone. I lived in Asia for a while. You go to Japan a fair bit. What's the number one communication app they use over there? Is it Line?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it is Line. I'm going with that. Comments below. Let me know if it's wrong. But they've basically released there's 200 million users of this app, and they're going to do an airdrop immediately to every single one of these users.
Wow.
So I think there's around 200 million users around the world of crypto right now. And then overnight, when Line creates their coin, and they don't sell it, they basically say initially they give it to all of their users as an airdrop and just say, here you are, you're online. Here is 200, it would be more than 200 million coins because there's 200 million users, but they're going to pump out all these coins into the market. So basically all these people who are using the application who don't actually use crypto overnight will be exposed to crypto. And the good thing about what Facebook is doing, so good and bad and everything, is that all these people, I think mums, dads, uncles, aunties, all the oldies that were sort of in Facebook, and that's part of the reason why Facebook was declining is because the young people were pulling out of it. But I think the reason why it still continues is because there's a lot of groups on Facebook. Like I can't get away from Facebook. Some things in my social life, people are like, join the Facebook chat, and I don't really want to be part of it. But if I'm not part of it, I'm sort of left out of the communication group. So I'm kind of forced to go in it that way. But that aside, if every single user on Facebook is given some type of cryptocurrency, no matter what it's called, overnight, we're going to see what 1 billion users. I don't know how many people on Facebook. It must be close to 1 billion. Maybe it's over 1 billion. There's 7 billion people on the earth, and if 20% of it is using Facebook, that's over 1 billion people who will immediately be exposed to crypto. Now, whether or not that Facebook coin works or not, what will work is the exposure to the cryptocurrency space. And I think overnight, because Bitcoin is the absolute rarest of them all and probably most valued, boom, it'll go straight up in price.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Exposure is a fair point. It'll be interesting to see how Facebook package this. So you're seeing some cryptocurrencies now be pretty clever about their marketing and their strategy by removing references to technical jargon like blockchain, like cryptocurrency, because it is a technical jargon for people that don't know it. And they're building platforms with reward points or loyalty points, and the terminology has no references to this tech that people don't know, and it's very smart, actually, at the way they do it, because they can onboard people very quickly. So, by the by, if it is a crypto, which it looks like it is, it will bring exposure. So you're on the money there, Adam, and potentially an absolute bucket load of exposure as well. So that is certainly one good thing to take away from it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, Bo. I'm not a supporter of Facebook. I think the communication and talking with each other is fantastic, but I'm just so disappointed with Zuckerberg and the way he's decided as a self-elected god to say what we can and cannot think and feel and communicate. I just don't really want to be part of that. But, if what he does makes me more money in something that I'm already into, then so be it. And I can confirm that what I was talking about is Line. It's Line, not Lion. And, well done, Line, as well as all the affiliate programs who will be going on the blockchain. It makes perfect sense. I think it's a beautiful synergistic relationship between a tried and true loyalty program model, synergizing with a immutable blockchain that is very easy to store lots of information in lots of different places all over the world, and perhaps even transfer those loyalty points. In that interview with Alex on Nuggets News, I think MasterCard and Visa Card they're in big trouble. We know the banks are in big trouble, because why would you deal with the banks? And the flow on from that is simply MasterCard. And if these people don't jump on the bandwagon, which I think they've kind of left it a bit late, although they do have big market share, so that's certainly going to help them if they try to catch up, they're just going to be left behind.
Yeah, you are right. It is a good point. And it'll be what's going to be interesting to see in the future, now that we have lots of second layer capabilities on Bitcoin, with Liquid, with Elements, with Lightning. What apps decide to utilize existing infrastructure by using Bitcoin within their apps, by building Lightning apps and other second layer solutions? That is what I'm very interested in seeing in the future.
There's so many unknowns. We know what we know what we don't know, but we don't know what we don't know. that makes sense, and it it is actually a reality of, I used to talk about Bitcoin never being a daily transactor, but that was before I didn't even know about Lightning. And now Lightning's out there and you've got these abilities to transact quite quickly, then maybe Bitcoin will be the daily transactor. I know I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot of unknowns, like you said, but look, it'll be interesting to see how things play out.
Oh, good show. Let's close off with the coin picks. Looking at what happened last week, I went for Stellar. Over the last 7 days, Stellar has gone up 21%. I'm pretty happy with that. 21% in 7 days. What was your coin, Bo?
Was my coin Lisk, or did I go basic attention last week?
No, you went Bitcoin.
I went Bitcoin. I did too. Oh, well, there you go. Look, Bitcoin's done negative 1.56%.
You went BAT, then you went Lisk, then you went Bitcoin.
You are smoking me. We're going to have to do a tally board. We're going to have to do a tally board at some point. add up, right, every week, and actually from the initial weeks as well. And
I don't think you want to do that, because I am smoking. I have had 3 from 3, and my biggest one was this week by picking Stellar.
Can you calm down?
There's your 20% right there, team. All right, your pick for this week to close off. What's your pick for over the next 7 days?
I'm going to go Bitcoin again. I'm going to go Bitcoin because I'm liking what I'm seeing with Bitcoin. I'm liking the fact that it's holding strong. I'm liking the fact that dominance is way up, 56%. It's pulled back a little bit. I think Bitcoin at the moment, given that we're slightly down over 7 days, I think has hit a nice soft point where I would be comfortable buying back in. I like that, and I think Bitcoin's got a lot more movement to come if we start getting some more positive news about these big investment products coming online.
I think it's a safe bet for my pick for the next 7 days. I think check out Maker, guys. Maker's been moving very quickly. It might be quite bold of me to pick it, but I'm not going to pick that. I'm actually going to go for Monero over the next 7 days. I'd also look at Tron, but Monero over the next 7 days, these privacy coins are going to creep up quietly and they're going to jump in there and they're going to move up in the markets. Bo, over to you.
Mate, look, that's it from me. Let's wrap it up. My brain is about to melt in this head of mine at the moment. It needs some sustenance. It needs something to eat. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like I was saying before, number 4. If you did, feel free to give us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what you think. We will get better. I know Adam had some stuff. He was going to respond to comments. Adam, I'll probably cut you off there if you were. If I did, I apologise. But we will start getting into some of these comments, guys, and start wrapping it up as we continue to refine the way we're conducting these episodes and coming off your feedback as well. So also don't forget to subscribe, guys. Adam's channel link is down below. Make sure to go and check it out. Go and subscribe to Adam and show him some support. And yeah, that's it from me. Adam, over to you for the closeout.
Oh, you're too kind. No need to apologise. I was rambling on there. I could talk crypto all day. Thanks for listening. Happy investing. We'll talk to you next time.
Peace out, guys.